This is my level 70 Athena slash Gladiator build in the pre-sequel. I'll be going over all the skills that I recommend putting your points into, as well as other skills that you can change around if you do choose so, and all the gear and guns that I recommend grabbing as well and using with her. So this will primarily be focused on a shock slash fire damage based build. And if you could give us a like and subscribe if you thought this is helpful, that'll be much appreciated. And let's start in the right tree. So we've got Storm Weaving. When you swap weapons, you gain Storm Weaving, increasing your fire rate and elemental effect chance for a short duration. So the elemental effect chance is a 225% increase, and the fire rate is 67.5% with a duration of 9 seconds. This is with a class mod bonus as well, so it will be less as a base one with no class mod bonus. Then we've got Maelstrom. This one's really good. Dealing incendiary or shock damage causes you to gain stacks of Maelstrom, or elemental damage dealt is increased for each stack of Maelstrom. Stacks will decay over time, and this rate of decay increases as you accumulate more stacks. So the elemental damage increase is a 0.4% per stack. And then we've got Conduit. While you have at least one electrical elemental effect active, you regenerate a percentage of your shield every second for each stack of Maelstrom you have. So the shield regeneration per second is a 0.10% per stack. So these two sort of stack together as well. And this is also why you want shock weapons and grenades, etc., which I'll be showing you later on. Gathering Tempest increases magazine size and reload speed by 40% and 25%. Then we've got Smite. While you're an airborne, shooting an enemy will smite them, causing incendiary and shock damage in a small area, so it's like an AoE effect. Smite damage increases as you accumulate more stacks of Maelstrom. This ability has a cooldown of 12 seconds with a minimum of 10 Maelstrom stacks required. Unrelenting. Kill skill, killing an enemy increases your weapon swap speed and fire rate for each stack of Maelstrom. The weapon swap speed increases 0.88% per stack. That is with a skill bonus of +6 with the class mod, so this will be less without the class mod, which I can take this off right now and show you. So there'll be 0.4 and 0.3% fire rate, as well as 100% elemental effect chance and a 30% fire rate chance without the class mod on. Then we have Zeus's Rage. When firing the Aspis, a devastating fire and lightning storm will spawn at a target location, dealing damage to those caught in the storm for several seconds. The damage of the storm increases based on the amount of damage absorbed by the Aspis, which is your skill. Elemental Barrage. The Storm Weaving is active. Your weapons have a chance to not consume ammo. This chance is increased for each Maelstrom stack you have. So Maelstrom is really important. I would spec into this tree first, but you can do whatever you want just because of how good this Maelstrom stacking is. So basically you get a free shot chance of 30% and additional chance of 0.10% per stack of Maelstrom. Then we've got Superconducter, which I've only put 1 point into. So you can either go 3-3 with these two skills, Overload and Superconducter, or you can go 5-1 like I have. Or you can find some other way to max this out as well, because the skill is also good. So this is one of the skills that I recommend maxing out if you do choose so. So basically the Aspis has a chance to shock nearby enemies when struck. When this occurs, you gain bonus Maelstrom stacks. The bonus stacks are 5, and this can increase to a 50% shock chance rate. Overload. When you kill an enemy who is electrocuted or burning, there's a chance for a status effect to chain to nearby enemies. When this occurs, you gain Maelstrom stacks. This bonus is gained twice if the target is both burning and electrocuted. Bonus stacks are 20. The status effect spread chance is 45%. So I usually choose Overload over going 3-3 because the elemental spread is just so good and electrocute and burns enemies. Well, this just has a shock chance when you throw Aspis. So I believe this is actually a lot better. Then if you're using, this is another skill that I could recommend, which is Flash Freeze. So if you have the gun, let's see if I can find it here. I'll show you later. So if you have a, I forgot what it's called. I'll have to go back to that. But anyways, whenever you freeze an enemy, you gain a flash freeze for a short duration. During this time, you cannot gain or lose maelstrom stacks, and the flash freeze duration goes to 5 seconds. So when I find that gun in the bank, I'll show you why you want this if you're using that gun. Then we've got Hades Shackles. Slamming links you to nearby enemies with a shock tether for a short duration, electrocuting them. The tether is broken if you lose line of sight to the target. Any enemy still tethered at the end of the duration or who will die while tethered release an incendiary nova, and you gain bonus maelstrom stacks for each enemy affected. This ability has a cooldown as well. Maelstrom stacks is 20 per target, with the tether duration of 3 seconds and a cooldown of 15. Then we've got the middle tree, which I've only spec'd in 2, which is Gun Cutter. Increases gun damage. Additionally, your melee damage is increased for a short duration after shooting an enemy. So the gun damage is 15%. Melee damage doesn't really matter because it's not a melee build, but I will be making a melee build on her as well. Then we've got Omega Shenshu. You deal increased damage to enemies with less than 50% of their max health remaining, and the additional damage is 35%. So this is really good for the bosses and stuff as well. Couple skills I recommend in this, even though I just straight up recommend just using this, as I believe this is just the best way to play her. There's a couple of skills in here. So there's Rend. Your melee attacks cause enemies to bleed. Inflicting damage over time. Bleed damage benefits from bonuses to melee damage, deals more damage to enemies with higher health. So if you pair Rend with Tear, it is actually quite good against bosses and stuff, because you deal an increase like 35% gun damage to the bosses while they're bleeding, if they can be bled. And another one that I quite like is Mercurial. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. It's a kill skill. Killing an enemy increases movement speed and damage resistance for a few seconds, and this increases the movement speed of 20% and 25% damage resistance. So that's quite handy as well. Then in the left tree, we've got Ephodes. Increases movement speed and gun damage by holding the Aspis. The movement speed is 20% and gun damage is 20%. Another one that I recommend in this tree that I haven't spec'd into is Hold the Line. This is just a straight duration increase of Aspis. Then we've got Vanguard. While the Aspis is active, you and your nearby enemies regenerate health. The more damage absorbed by Aspis, the more damage regenerated. And this can rank up to 5, which is a stronger regeneration for everyone. Then we've got Prismatic Ages. The Aspis now stores the elemental damage type of absorbed damage. Multiple elemental damage types can be stored, and all stored damage types are dealt by the Aspis when thrown. All are welcome, go into the light. Then we've got Claire. When thrown, the Aspis explosion grants second wind to friends with range. In addition, you deal increased damage while in fight for your life. The damage bonus is 40%. United Front. Damage absorbed by the Aspis now recharges the shields of you and your nearby friends, additionally increasing your shield capacity by 20% and converts 25% of absorbed damage into shield power. Then we've got Return Fire. When active, the Aspis has a chance to reflect incoming lasers and bullets while still absorbing their energy. The reflect chance is 50%, so that's quite high. Then Wrath of the Goddess allows the Aspis to ricochet to up to 4 additional enemies, each taking less damage than the last. The Aspis will return to you after it's hit the final enemy, and the damage reduction is by 33% each time it ricochets. So that's the build there. Hold the Line, something you could spec into. Mercurial, Rend, Tear, finishing off Superconductor, and Flash Freeze. The rest I just wouldn't touch, but yeah, that's about it. And then for the guns, I'll just go over to the bank quickly as well, as I have guns in there. So we've got Thunderfire, which is a laser gun that does fire and shock damage. We've got the Pitchfork and shock, a Bullpup and fire damage, and Butterboom and fire damage. So what I would recommend doing is grabbing 2 shock weapons, potentially 3, and then in your other 2 slots using 2 fire weapons or 3 shock to 1 fire, as well as having a rocket launcher so you can just get yourself up on those second wins. Then we've got the Prismatic Bulwark. This just increases like laser damage and stuff if you're using lasers. Or you can use a Avalanche, that's just for the melee build, which doesn't matter for this. A Sham, a Shield of the Ages just for straight capacity, or a Naught, which has a 0 recharge delay, so it just instantly recharges the shield. Then we've got a low-level Stormfront. This is just for Maelstrom stacks, and so it doesn't hurt you. And then you've also got a level 70 Stormfront for damage, as well as Maelstrom stacks, and a Electric Quasar. Then we've got the Surging Storm class mod, which increases 2 very good skills, which is Unrelenting and Storm Weaving, while increasing your electrocute damage. And we've got Chronicler of the Alpus, Iridium Vanquisher, Celestial Gladiator, a Blade Master class mod for the melee build, which I'll be making another video on, and a Deadly Femme Fatale class mod as well for the SMG damage. Then we've got a Eddie Space Kit, a Ak, Moonlight Saga, Duality, Bomber, and a Acrobat. Then for the guns, we've got a Hail in Shock and Fire, Tennis's Laser of Enlightenment, Miss Moxie's Vibra Pulse, a Toby's Bright Spad Rune, a Logan's gun to pair with the Sham Shield, so you can have infinite rockets. It's essentially the same thing that you just shoot the ground with the Sham like in Borderlands 2, and you gain rocket ammo. Then we've got Lady Fists in both elements, fire and shock, Butterboom and shock as well as explosion, a shock Bullpup, a fire and shock company man, a Moonscaper, so you can jump around the map, which I'll show you right now. Basically, I can't fully remember how this works, but I think yeah, there we go. So you shoot a bunch of pellets on the ground, and you get a low level one so it doesn't kill you, and then they all explode, and then it can make you fly across the map. Then we've got the torrents in all 3 elements, which is shock, fire, and corrosive. You want a couple of corrosive guns just for loader bots and stuff, but mainly just shock and fire damage. But you'll want probably 3 different types of corrosive weapons just for those loader sections and stuff. Then we've got the shock meat grinder, shock fast talker, corrosive fast talker, fire fast talker, fire meat grinder, fire pitchfork, shock pitchfork, and then we've got the practical development in all 3 elements, a double penetrating fragman, which is essentially the double penetrating unkept herald, min lighter, a flacker, Excalibur. So this one here, when you use this weapon, You can pair this with the flash freeze and it just makes the gun a lot better, essentially. Then we've got a Mongol IVF, Kanita's laser, another Min laser, Laser Disco, Absolute Zero, Stopping Torrent, Thorny Old Rosies, Ferocious Old Painful, Bladed Phrygia, Boxy Gun, the Machine. You also want to get this in Fire and Shock as well, which I don't have. A Probe, this is for the melee build. A Heartbreaker, which I don't think's in the game. A Casual Wombat, a Skewing Hail for the melee build, a Corrosive Companies Man as well, and that's about it. So if you thought this was helpful at all, if you give us a like and subscribe, that'll be much appreciated, and I can bring you guys more build videos. And I'll see you guys on the next one.